Mm. So 2016, you decided to make the leap and start your own business. How long before that were you thinking about, leaving Accenture and starting your own business? Was it something that was on your mind for many years? Was it an event? Like what? Just kind of taking it back into that time. What was going on, and how long were you considering or thinking about making that transition?
Well, and it's a very interesting question, and it's something that I really relate to other organizations. What occurs is when you leave an organization, it is usually the culmination of many moments and many reflections,
Mm.
and then an event. And often when organizations come to me and say, oh, this high-powered, very important woman leader is leaving, convince her to stay. And I say, probably that's going to be impossible because of the sense that it's been built up over time. In my sense, I had the benefit of traveling the world, doing amazing things. But what I started finding is that what really gave me the joy was focusing specifically on the domain of diversity, performance, equity. And I wanted to do that 100% of my time.
Mm.
And at the time, at least with an Accenture, it was more on the side in terms of my role versus a primary focus.
Right. I think that's such a great point that, yeah, so often, you'll hear in the media or you'll just somehow learn about somebody's path and you very often focus on one event, like, there was downsizing or they got fired or there was an acquisition, but the actual planning process or the thought process has typically been happening for a while, even before that one event.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really great point. When you kind of made that decision, did you consider going and doing more of this diversity inclusion work, maybe at another firm? Like, why go off and start your own thing as opposed to finding some other consulting firm or other organization that specialized, or at least that maybe would create a kind of a D&I area that you could lead?
What I wanted to do when I left Accenture, I suppose, was really have the space
Mm.
to do what I wanted to do in a very agile way, in a very purpose-driven way. And what I found when I left Accenture is I actually needed to take some space. What I ended actually up doing, and this was not with my planning, but I did a master's in authentic learning and leadership. And that was exactly the period that I needed to almost rewire myself, to reflect, talk about what I wanted to do. And the other thing, and it's really a hint that I give many people that I coach, as I transitioned out of Accenture, I did two things. The one is I worked with a design agency to develop a logo. And it seems like a small thing, but in a logo are all the dreams and the hopes and the meaning of what's behind an organization. It is really helps you be very concrete. And the second thing I did was design my website. And at the time of designing my website, I put 5 things that I would be doing within diversity and performance, many things that I hadn't done before. But it is so important to have that intent. And in fact, now 8 years after the effect of establishing this organization, which now is global, in fact, I'm doing every single one of those 5 things. And I think if I hadn't had to be so resolute, and certainly web designers say to you, so what do you do? And be clear. It was a very good exercise for me.